Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again. The second half of the day's proceedings will begin with this session centered around the theme of design innovation across technologies. It will be chaired by Mr. Thisal Devin and co-chaired by Mr. Satira Pereira. Mr. Thisal Devin is a lecturer at the Department of Integrated Design with a specialization in the area of media and communication design. Assisting him today will be Mr. Satira Pereira, who is an academic instructor at the Department of Integrated Design. Our esteemed speakers for this afternoon are Ranjiv Balasubramaniam, Korala CSG, Anuki Pereira, and Shirini Devmini. I'd like to invite our speakers to be seated in the front row. And over to you, Mr. Devin.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the fifth session of Integrated Design Research Conference. So the theme of this session is design innovation across technologies. This session contains 4 amazing speakers who are extremely passionate about their studies and research projects. The most exciting part of this session can be seen as the variety of these projects ranging from community-based to cutting-edge technology. So how we are going to do this session is, so each presenter is going to present their research, and then we are going to have a Q&A session after all 4 presenters presented. So without taking much time, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Balasubramaniam R. So the topic of this research is role of user experience design practices in sustainable secondary education in Sri Lanka, co-authored by Mr. Rodrigo B. Mr. Balasubramaniam works as the lead user experience designer at iLabs Private Limited, and he is a graduate of University of Moratuwa as well. So over to you, Mr. Balasubramaniam.
Thank you, Devin. Good evening, everyone. So let me walk you through my presentation of how I went through my research in identifying the role of user experience design practices in sustainable secondary education in Sri Lanka. So as we all know, thank you. Sorry for those technical difficulties. Let me start again. So I will walk you through my research process of how I identify the role of user experience design practices in the sustainable secondary education in Sri Lanka. So when talking about sustainability, as in the academic arena, we know what sustainability is, but for presentation purposes, let me give the most used definition of sustainability, which is to meet the needs of the current generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs. And on the other hand, we have user experience design. So yeah, this is also a new field that most of us are talking right now, this digital world with digital products gaining more traction day by day. And I will give you a rough definition, the ISO definition of user experience design as well, which is a person's perception and responses that results from the use or anticipated use of a product, system or service. So we know how these two concepts work individually, but topics of how to introduce sustainability through user experience design is something new to this world, and many research is already being done in this field in the international context, but unfortunately not much in the Sri Lankan context. And why this is important is most of us today are almost interacting with digital products day by day, and there is a high need to have a sustainable lifestyle in the today's world with this mass consumerism and the great pollution and economic crisis, political crisis, social crisis that comes day by day in our lives. So making a way through which we use these digital devices, aid in these sustainable practices and inducing sustainable behaviors in human beings is much needed to be studied in the modern world. So this is where I come up with my research of identifying how to do this. Currently there are many studies being done in the global context. So this study is done in a much broader subject area called as Sustainable Human-Computer Interaction, Sustainable HCI, and in it they define this as sustainability through design. Here it discusses how HCI can be used to bring about sustainable lifestyle, behavioral and social changes in the society using the respective interactive devices and technology. The influence of HCI in sustainability is noted in the individual, group and societal levels of social hierarchy. Sustainable HCI is a much broader topic, and user experience design is one of the major factors that aids in proper sustainable human-computer interaction, because it's the one that decides the usability of these digital products in the digital world. And most research done in this area is in the global context revolves around sustainable education and how it can be facilitated through online platforms. However, with my research, I wasn't able to find any research that was particularly done in the Sri Lankan context with reference to how sustainable interaction design is being incorporated in these digital products when coming up with interactive platforms. And specifically, I could not find research which was dedicated towards user experience design. So what is the importance of such a research? In Sri Lanka, the impact of online platforms have on giving sustainable education to children, as emphasized by the target 4.7 of Sustainable Development Goal 4, is questionable. And with the current access to internet and overall adaptation to online learning, these online learning platforms have a higher responsibility to provide the necessary competencies to students, especially in the secondary education sector, as more than 80% of the children pass through the secondary education sector, and it is compulsory to attend school until the secondary education sector in Sri Lanka. And also, as per the curriculum from the Ministry of Education, the secondary education sector gives the most important competencies for students in order for them to gain these sustainability related experiences, which would aid them in their later lifestyle in living a sustainable lifestyle in future. So, but there are platforms that are already providing this in Sri Lanka, but no one has analyzed if they are following, or the way they are following in order to give this sustainable education through the user experience perspective. So this is where I come up with my research objective, which is to examine the role of user experience design practices in aiding a sustainable secondary education through web-based platforms in the Sri Lankan context. So here, in order to further pursue my research objective, I broke down my three research questions, and I broke down 3 other research objectives so that it would aid me in order to come up with my final findings, comprehensive finding of how user experience design practices is being used to aid sustainable secondary education in the online platforms in Sri Lanka. So after this, I did a complete literature review on user experience design practices, what is sustainable education, how sustainable education is being promoted through online platforms in the global context, and from that, and also in the Sri Lankan context, and from that I finalized my conceptual framework, which is I took user experience design practices as my independent variable and sustainable secondary education as my dependent variable. And both these variables were mediated by the Sri Lankan context. The user experience design practices, the online platforms, they were designed for students in Sri Lanka. So their Sri Lankan context had an impact. At the same time, the sustainable secondary education also was impacted by the Sri Lankan context, as it was designed and it was made for the students in the Sri Lankan context. However, this research does not focus on the user interface, because that's a different aspect of in the field of human-computer interaction, and it's kept as a control variable with time limitations. I was only able to focus on the user experience because it's more important when in comparison to the user interface, because it has the ability to drive out behavioral cognitive changes and give the overall positive impact of the online platform to the user. And interactive tools act as the moderating variables. Interactive tools mainly means the techniques used by these online platforms in order to achieve sustainable education in the online setting. So coming into my research methodology, I followed an explanatory approach. I was cross-checking my literature review along with the secondary data along with my primary data, and it followed a qualitative approach. And I took a case study method in order to further pursue my studies, because case study method, in order to get more context specific data related to Sri Lanka, because I was able to identify two major cases which was already in Sri Lanka who were providing sustainable education through online platforms. So I was able to get insights and data from them on ways that they used to provide this education, and later I analyzed all these data using a thematic analysis method in order to come up with my findings and discussions. So this was my study design. The first research question was answered through my literature review. The second question also was answered through my literature review. And my final research question, which was how do user experience design practices impact the sustainable secondary education in Sri Lanka? This was partly answered by literature review and from semi-structured in-depth interviews I did with the leading stakeholders of the two case studies that I mentioned, that I'm about to mention. So the case one is DP Education. DPEducation.lk is one of the leading education providing platforms in Sri Lanka, with almost about 50,000 visitors per day. And this website is providing sustainable education in with accordance to the guidelines provided by the Ministry of Education, who indeed took the inspirations from the UN Sustainable Development Goal 4. So they are providing sustainable education through their online platform, and this platform is currently being moderated by Data Box Technologies, and I interviewed the CEO of them in order to get more information on how they used user experience design practices when designing and when iterating their product. And the next case study was e-Taksalawa. This is a government funded project. This too has around almost 200,000 visitors per day. And in addition to providing video tutorials, they also provide various study materials needed for the students to get more sustainable education. So next, I came into my formulation of primary and secondary themes. This was done after reading my first reading my literature review. I was able to identify themes which I found out that would recur with my interview transcript as well. So I jotted down those themes and marked down the major criteria which those themes represented. So the major themes were infrastructure, pedagogy, and collaboration. For primary theme 1, this answered the research question 1. So, and the secondary themes were formulated for the research question 2, and it contained the themes called interaction techniques and sustainable UX. So I will be briefly explaining what these themes represent later. Before that, I will be explaining the process of how I came into the themes. So this is where those themes were put into use, because there were codes, ideas, and words that were recurring from my literature review with my interview transcript. So I took those themes and took these codes that were recurring from my interview transcript and replaced them with those existing themes. So by this I was able to clearly clarify that this the process followed in the Sri Lankan context also followed the context, the method that was being followed in the international context, because it aligned with the literature review, and the literature review was based on the global context. So here I was able to prove that yes, even in Sri Lanka we are doing these practices, though we have not studied on it yet, we are doing this. So however, with relation to Sri Lankan context, there was an additional theme that I came up with, which is affordability. So this was the major difference with the global context and in the Sri Lankan context. This was affordability. This was the major finding of my research, in addition to what I already found, that it's aligning with my existing studies. So what this means is infrastructure explains the environment and the resource supply. So in order to mediate a sustainable education through the online platform, a particular platform needs to have a proper environment, a place, or a space for them to provide it, maybe digital or physical, and also resource supply. So as per my case studies, there was a sole proprietorship for DP education, and it was the government for the Thisal. So there was this resource supply and pedagogy. This explains all the sustainable competencies that has to be provided through the education in order to make it sustainable. This gives the students competencies related to how they have to live in a sustainable way, the behavioral changes, the cognitive changes, which is required to live a sustainable lifestyle. And next is collaboration. So the collaboration is also the important part, because there are different stakeholders who will be involved in to provide sustainable education in the online platform in a successful manner. So the proper collaboration between all these people is important. So that's what represented by the collaboration theme. And finally, next is the interaction techniques. So this represents various techniques and methods that is used by these online platforms in order to promote sustainable education. And finally, it's sustainable UX. So these are derived from a literature review. Sustainable UX includes the UX design process methods that's used to develop the overall experience the students face through this online platform. Finally, affordability. These are the measures taken by these platforms to aid sustainable education in the Sri Lankan context. Because with relation to Sri Lankan context, we are still a developing country, and these platforms had to make remedies to cope with different challenges they will be facing in the Sri Lankan context. One is bandwidth issue. The other one is accessibility of students for different ways of accessing these platforms and stuff like that. So in the findings, I found out that UX designers in the Sri Lankan context heavily rely upon the knowledge and the experience of secondary school teachers when making design choices, as it gives them more insights to make this education platform with all the necessary components that would aid in sustainable education. STEM education was identified as the major facilitator in bringing up sustainable competencies in students of the secondary education in Sri Lanka, and one major reason of that being it's been targeting the industry. And also it was found that both cases, case 1 and case 2, took measures to promote STEM-based education in their platform. Creation of mental models, user scenarios, user models of students with the help of teachers and user study has been done by the UX designers in both cases, and both cases have made a vast iteration to the user flow, delivering content and choice of features for the platform based on the user requirement feedback. So this is where they follow the user design practices in order to promote the sustainable education through their platforms. And affordability is the key consideration from both user platforms with respectives. Both cases prioritize the use of YouTube for video tutorials due to its budget-friendly data packages, because most of the network providers in Sri Lanka provide budget-friendly YouTube data packages, which both the cases said that they highly consider it because the students who are from lower income families can afford these data packages when they are accessing their platforms. And this also is done in order to manage the resource efficiently, because this reduces the load in their cloud servers, as well as improve the overall website performance, as well as gives a better experience for the user. And also the case study number 2 took the affordability a step further, and they collaborated with different service providers so that the students get to access these platforms free of charge. So these are some of the major considerations these platforms took when they were designing online platform to promote sustainable education in Sri Lanka. So in conclusion, this research identifies a convergence between sustainability through sustainable education and user experience design practices, emphasizing the role of UX in fostering sustainable behavior among users in the Sri Lankan education platforms, notably prioritizing affordability with teachers and understanding student mental models significantly influences user design practices, particularly in delivering education through video content. This study suggests further exploration into primary and higher education sectors curriculum development and for personalized learning as well. Ultimately, the research advocates for leveraging UX design to promote sustainable education in Sri Lanka's evolving digital landscape, underscoring the importance of preparing students for a sustainable future. And also, this research acts as a new approach for user experience designers in Sri Lanka to think in terms of sustainability when they are designing, like what is being practiced in the global context as of now. So that's it, my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ranjiv, for the insightful presentation. So if you have any questions, you have to wait until the Q&A session. So it's time for second speaker. Second speaker is Korala CSG. His topic is incorporating design thinking process in redesigning existing student performance monitoring mobile application. So Mr. Korala is an instructor at University of Jayawardenepura, Department of Information Technology. Let me welcome Mr. Korala to the stage.
Good evening. I'm Changisari Gonzalez Korala from University of Sri Jayawardenepura, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. So my topic is incorporating design thinking process in redesigning the existing student performance monitoring mobile application, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, University of Sri Jayawardenepura. First of all, I will give a kind of brief introduction about my topic. So there are nearly 4,000 students in our faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. So currently they are using performance evaluation system PES for evaluate their results, and if they want to see the GPAs and everything, they can access they can go to the PES and access those data. And currently, in addition, the past few years ago, we had FHSS app, but from in that app, there are some usability issues with that app, and my paper demonstrates the significance of the design thinking process in the redesign of FHSS app for the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences at the University of Sri Jayawardenepura. So when going with usability studies and users testings, we identify there are a lot of problems with the current app, the FHSS app, and there are more readability issues, and we identify the users users are not satisfied with the mobile app, and there are so many problems, and this is the past app we have, and you can see there are some readability issues and user experience issues, and my main was to redesign the mobile app to cater uh, the design needs, what they want, what the main requirements from kind of this app. And because they already have a PACE, the performance evaluation system, and what they want from app, most of students say the app is just, the current app is just, we can just see the results and no any help from this app. Why we want to download from App Store this app, and there are a lot of apps currently, right? And so my main objective was redesigning kind of good app, kind of user-centered mobile app, going through with the design thinking process, and creating kind of good mobile app to the students. So I followed talking about the methodology. I followed the design thinking process. You know about the emphasis in defining, ideate, prototyping, and testing the design thinking process. I go through with it. And first, I start with talking with the students. I collect data, and I take a random, go through with the random sampling method and collect data from the students and give a questionnaire. And also I conduct some kind of in-depth interviews and ask what they want, what they are expecting from kind of mobile app, from kind of these mobile applications. And I started to create personas and empathy maps, and what they feel and what they want. Likewise, I tried to figure out what their requirements. And I figured out there are some kind of problems. The main problems are students already identify they already can see their results, but there are no any analytical part. They just see the results, no any GPA calculation. And also academic staff, the requirements, I also conduct some interviews with the academic staff. And their requirement is, we also want to check students' performances, and we also want to see their performances. And and also, in the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, we have 50, 60 students who having kind of disability issues, kind of blind students. There are 60, 50 kind of number of students. So I have to create the mobile app for those students also. And likewise, I identify the problem, and then I try to ideate my mobile app, the concept. And first, I think about the readability issues. They already mentioned about the readability issues, and I use kind of clear font and colors. So I try to maintain our university branding colors, and also try to maintain the minimalism. So when we are talking about the arts, the humanities and social science faculty, the students are come from rural areas, and the IT literacy is kind of bit low. And I think I want to maintain the minimalism, and I start to do prototyping, and I try to maintain the colors, the university branding colors, and the minimal things. And I try to maintain kind of good use experience. And also, I had a kind of push notification system. So the students, if it's kind of the faculty release the results of the semester results, so they have kind of push notifications, and they can see those results. Likewise, I add more tools and more facilities to the mobile apps. So this is the past step, and now I currently, this is the home page of the mobile app, and I add the sliders, so the users can currently see what are the events of the university, what the students are currently doing, what are the functions of the university, and just very simple navigation bar. And also I categorize the mobile app to first year students, second year students, third year students. So the first year students, they have kind of university online trailer, right? The places, how to get the registration from the library, and what is the AR, what is the registration number, what is the examination number, because those students don't know about those things. So from the mobile app, I try to give kind of understanding about these things to the user. And and the results, I try to maintain the gamification techniques. I follow the gamification techniques, and if the students have kind of 3.56 GPA, I give those, I show those GPAs kind of in one color, and I try to show, I try to encourage them, motivate them. If they have kind of low GPA, I try to motivate them. And from the user experience method, I follow the UI design principles and user experience psychological things, and I give kind of motivation codes in the end of the page to motivate students. And after that, after the prototyping, I did the testings. Most of problems, likewise, this problem came because users can edit the profile, and they have kind of, they can change the profile picture, like those things. So because the development team is also students, the design is done by me, but developers are we get developers from the students. And the lead from our department head, he's lead the team, and we did this project with students. So this output with the academic staff and the students. So likewise, we identified these problems, and also we have kind of accessibility issues, because I test this mobile app with the students who can't see this app, the blind students, and they identify some icons and some buttons they can't read, and they are asking what is this. And because you know that when we can design, but when we are developing something, when we are developing a mobile app, we have to think about those things and those accessibility thing. And there are some issues. So when I'm doing testing, I figure out those issues. And some people click the home button for go home, but there are no option. And I did some usability testing, and I figure out those issues. So it's currently available on Google Play and the Play Stores. And the conclusions, or the project I created, the research is for this research paper documents how to incorporate the design thinking process into a redesign of a mobile application related to an academic institute that viewed by a bunch of students regularly. So another ambition is giving kind of experience to the another researchers. Because when I start building this mobile application, I couldn't find kind of mobile application done by another universities, also from Sri Lanka, also from other countries. But when I doing this research, I did this research because to give kind of good documentation how to follow the design thinking process and how we can create kind of good mobile app for education institute. So that's what I want to. That's what I tried to do, and this is the references, and yes, that's my research, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Koralev, for your amazing presentation. So now we have our third speaker ready to take us to a different direction. So let me welcome Ms. A.P. Pereira. Her research topic is community-based application for Sri Lankan comic enthusiasts towards building a Sri Lankan comic culture, co-authored by Dr. S. Samaravikrama. Ms. A.P. Pereira is a graduate of University of Moratuwa, and now she works as a PR executive at Malanlo, Sri Lanka. Ms. Pereira, the stage is yours.
right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Anaki Pereira, and today I'm here to present to you about my research that I did for community-based application for Sri Lankan comic enthusiasts towards building a Sri Lankan comic culture. So, as you all know, comics are an amazing storytelling medium. But I have a question to ask. Can you remember reading comics when you were young? Maybe there was a regular mailman who used to come to your place, and then they used to leave a newspaper and you used to read it. So, what happened to these comics, and where are these comic artists now? Let me take you on a tour to tell you what exactly happened when it comes to our comic industry.
Welcome to the world of comics, where stories come alive in vibrant colors and captivating illustrations. Whether you're a fan of superheroes, sci-fi, fantasy, or horror, the comic industry has something for everyone. And for those who are truly passionate about comics, there are conventions and events where fans can come together to celebrate their favorite characters and stories. There was a time, decades ago, when comic strips were very popular in Sri Lanka. This was when newspaper pullouts were exclusively dedicated to local comics or Chitrakatha. Sunday Lankadeepa, Satuta, Vijaya are such newspapers which published comics in the 1950s. These comics varied across multiple unique genres such as Jataka Katha, Veera Katha, and mythical stories. These golden years of comics in Sri Lanka drew to a close because of the rise of TV media. Between 2000 to 2017, nearly for 17 years, the industry was inactive, trying to adapt to this new change. And soon, Sri Lankan comic artists lost the opportunity to become full-time comic artists, and newspaper publishers stopped publishing Sri Lankan comics. Around 2017, a small crowd of artists in Sri Lanka began to create in a comic medium known as webcomics. Webcomics are digital comics that can be published online, and the comic industry of Sri Lanka is currently made of three stakeholders: comic artist, comic writer, and comic fan. Around 80 to 100 webcomics were created per year by this small crowd of comic artists. Unfortunately, these numbers started decreasing from 2020 onwards, and currently the creation of webcomics has decreased to a count of 20 webcomics per year, while 40% of them are discontinued later. Even though the global webcomics industry flourished during the pandemic, the Sri Lankan comic industry began to diminish.
Alright, so the problem is very clear. The problem is the Sri Lankan comic industry is diminishing. So I conducted a few interviews, and the most common answer that I received is that they don't have a way to access Sri Lankan comics and they don't know where to reach these artists. So basically, the Sri Lankan comic industry doesn't have a space for the community to network with each other. But I started to wonder, is that the only question or the problem that they have? So I did a deeper research by conducting more interviews with the comic artists, the comic writers, and the comic fans. And I came up with a few persona profiles. So here you can see Sachit Pereira, who is an established artist, and then we have Prabhashini, who is a self-publisher, and there's Supun, who is an emerging artist. And then there are two types of comic writers. There's self-acclaimed writers and also script writers, or rather freelance copywriters. And then these were the pain points that I recognized after conducting interviews. That is, lack of engagement from fans, unstable revenue, no publishers to reach, and also no partners to collaborate. And few other pain points are for these comic artists because of the applications that they use, Webtoon, Tapas, and Facebook, because they don't support Sinhala or Tamil language comics, and the genres are specified for their supportive countries, and there's no engagement with the artist and fans, and the readability issues, and Facebook platforms like Facebook, they don't promote artistry. So that's how I came up with the idea of Jam Dive, where you can jam with artists and dive into comics. So basically at Jam Dive, the Sri Lankan comic community will be the driving force of Sri Lankan comic industry. And the target audience that I have for this web application is Sri Lankan comic enthusiasts between the ages 18 to 35 years. And with the research that I conducted, I came up with a strategy with 4 objectives. And my first objective is building a community through networking, creating revenue for Sri Lankan comic creators, a space to publish Sri Lankan comics, and then sharing comic creative knowledge. So let me show you how it will happen at Jam Dive. At first, comic writers can collaborate with comic artists. So that's one objective. So what about the fans? So the touch points that I received after interviewing the fans is that Sri Lankan comic fans love creating fan art, and that's what I came up with. In this platform, comic fans can create fan art and get feedback from their artists as well. And then the most important part is jamming with each other. That's basically what Jam Dive is about. We can create a community here, and artists and fans, vice versa, can jam with each other in these jam rooms. And I also introduced a revenue model to acquire Objective 2 by bringing in merch where comic artists can earn through that. And Objective 2, once again, so this is how they can buy the merch. And comic writers, they can publish their stories, and that's how they can earn. So this is how that's going to happen within the web application. So once again, publishing comics. So I will be introducing a collaborative approach or a self-publish approach within this web application where comic artists can collaborate with each other, or they can even self-publish. And since there were a few readability issues that I mentioned prior, this platform will be giving vertical panels as well as horizontal panels. The creators and fans can choose based on the layouts as well. And the platform will be recognizing the target audiences based on the visual styles. This is something that you can't see in other platforms. Basically, if there's like visual styles based on manga or manhwa, which is like Korean oriented web comics, and also very realistic comic styles like Marvel and DC. So this will be based on visual styles as well. And then very unique genres, that means recognizing the potential of Sri Lankan genres. So when it comes to Sri Lanka, we have like folklore, mythical and religious, very unique genres. So this platform will have, will be based within genres as well. And of course, Sinhala and Tamil comics are supported with no discrimination within this platform. And I will be giving a chance to for comic artists to share their comic knowledge. So these are a few of these artists that we have recognized up until now. And I will be giving a creators badge. Basically, established artists will be given the badge after a review process. And the touch point that I received after researching is that artists, they value their recognition, and the emerging artists will be encouraged to work towards receiving this badge. And of course, like I mentioned, the Learn and Share with Jam Dive will be introduced, where creators can share their creative knowledge, which will be very useful for the emerging artists. And one thing that I recognize about comic artists and comic fans is that they do podcasts, they love cosplaying. So there will be a particular section called talent section where they can upload their podcasts and also cosplays. So how did we do this? Telling you the backstory of Jam Dive. At first, I interviewed, survey and unstructured interviews were conducted to identify and know more in depth about these comic artists and meet the artists. These were few of the artists that I interviewed. And that's where I realized identify the industry gaps, and I began with journey mapping to identify the touch points. And then information architecture and user flow was created to understand the web application Jam Dive more. And I created low fidelity wireframes, mid fidelity. I conducted research, user tests with low fidelity, mid fidelity, as well as high fidelity. And that's how I came up with the final solution called Jam Dive. So these are few high fidelity user interfaces. And right after I implemented this, I once again did a user testing, and this was a survey that was shared. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Anuki, for the amazing presentation. So now we have our final presenter for this session, Ms. MGCM Devini. Her title of her research is Customized Packaging Solution for Fragile Edible Cutlery, a Design and Development Study. This research is co-authored by Dr. S. Samaravikrama, and Devini is an undergraduate of Department of Integrated Design, University of Moratuwa. The stage is yours.
Thank you. Don't talk too near to the mic. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm excited to share the study on customized packaging solutions for fragile edible cutlery. I'm Chirani from University of Moratuwa, Department of Integrated Design. So in this study, we talk about customized packaging for fragile food, which is creating packaging that is specifically designed to protect and preserve fragile food items, especially during transportation and storage. And this fragile food item for this study is edible cups and spoons. The edible cutlery has emerged as an eco-friendly alternative to single-use plastic cutlery, but its fragility brings packaging and transportation challenges. This study of designing and development of packaging considered the unique characteristics of this food item, such as fragility, shape, and perishability. In Sri Lanka, there is only one edible cutlery manufacturer, and there is not enough research done regarding packaging of this food item. So the relevance of studying customized packaging solutions for edible cutlery lies in the need of ensuring the safe transportation of the product. The normal box-shaped packaging is not suitable for these because it can result breakage and waste. By developing customized packaging solutions, the manufacturers of edible cutlery in Sri Lanka can ensure the safe delivery of their products to customers both locally and in the global market. Furthermore, the demand for eco-friendly products is increasing worldwide, and as I said, edible cups cutlery is an innovative and sustainable alternative to plastic. By promoting this and exporting this product, Sri Lanka can contribute to the global effort of reduce plastic waste and promote environmental sustainability. Here, effective packaging design research can ensure that product reaches to the customer in the best condition possible, thereby increasing customer satisfaction and promoting the brand. So this study is important to successful expansion of the product in the global market, and it can help to ensure the safe transportation, reduce waste of the product, promote eco-friendliness, and increase customer satisfaction. The method of study consists of 3 phases: analysis of current packaging solutions for fragile, perishable goods, and in the competition in the market. Next, development of an innovative packaging, and last phase is prototype test. And these are some of globally available packaging for edible cutlery. So as a case, edible cutlery cups, edible dessert cups and spoons by manufacturer in Sri Lanka has been selected. The client is the only manufacturer in edible cups in Sri Lanka, and they operate as a small and medium scale enterprise SME. In initial phase of research, an analysis was conducted on existing packaging, which is a box as you can see, for selected edible cups and spoons to determine necessary improvements. Based on user feedback for existing packaging, the design has not provided enough protection for the product or the satisfactory experience for end users. This highlights the importance of developing packaging solutions that can effectively protect the product and enhance the user experience, ultimately contribute to the success of the product in the market. So the package needed to be a value addition to these edible cups and spoons. So in the process, various structures and forms were explored and prototypes were developed. Furthermore, measurements of the cup and spoons were taken and analysis of stacking and packaging was also conducted. In this existing packaging, there were 14 cups per box and they were wrapped in polythene cover as sets, and this SME needed an export quality packaging solution. When talking about exporting, the customer is different. The SMEs had the opportunity to expand their market to Gulf countries. Then the target user was people from Gulf countries. In the study of target user, all the factors related to user has been identified through literature and interviews. Factors as average family size, characteristic and behavior of user, the occasions they would use these edible cups and spoons, and purpose they prefer to buy this product, maybe for diced fruits or maybe then eye-catching graphics and colors of packaging were also being analyzed. After understanding consumer, design and development were carried out in two methods. Method 1 is measurement and analysis. For that, measurements were taken of cups and spoons, including their dimensions, weight, and other relevant factors that can impact their packaging and transportation. Then analyzing the data to identify any potential issues or challenges that may arise during packaging and transport, such as need for cushioning, risk of breakage, and impact of temperature and humidity was identified. Method 2 was prototype development for selected edible cups, spoons, shapes using different materials and designs to test their durability and resilience to damage during transportation. In the second step, a packaging design was designed and addressed the challenges and incorporate the best features of the existing packaging solutions as identified in a previous phase. This is a final prototype, and there were several main factors to be considered. Edible cutlery is marketed as an eco-friendly alternative to traditional plastic cutlery. So then packaging must be aligned with the product's sustainability goals by being eco-friendly as a unique selling point. By packaging should be visually appealing, showcasing product unique features and benefits. So there's a window to see the product and make sure the cups are not broken before consumers buy. And next is packaging should be designed for convenience and ease of the use to ensure customer satisfaction. An innovative package that reduce waste, environmentally friendly, provide maximum protection, ensure that contents remain fresh and safe for consumption, and offer competitive advantage to the producers and suppliers of this product were the factors that considered in final prototype. Let's move on to talk about the details of the package. The core aim of this packaging is to ensure the safety of the product during transportation storage while preserving its taste and quality quality as identified in previous analysis phase. This is achieved by shielding the product from exposure to air, moisture and odors from the environment via airtight seal that remains until the package is unsealed by end user by tearing a sticker. According to research, the analysis target group of the client was in Gulf countries, and their average family count members was used to determine the number of units included in one packaging. Functionality was a crucial consideration in this design, and to the end, the packaging is designed to protect the waffle cups from damage during transportation storage, keep them uncontaminated, and facilitate ease of opening, closing, serving and stacking for storage. And in this case of hexagonal shaped packaging, this design allows the package to be tightly fitted together, reducing the amount of unused space between them. The hexagonal shape also provides a more secure fit to round shaped waffle cups with cushioning, ensuring the contents remain safe and undamaged during transportation. The packaging's overall design and shape fulfill the key factor of providing a secure and tight fit for contents, improving safety and quality of the products. And by using of this type of packaging, businesses can achieve better storage and transportation efficiency, which can lead to cost savings and improved overall productivity. In this packaging's innovative feature is the opening experience. It is designed to make process of serving and handling the product more convenient and effortless. The bag shape, like opening, allows for easy grabbing of the contents, and while the shape of opening ensures that can be conveniently placed on flat surface for serving. In user testing, individuals have expressed high levels of satisfaction with this innovative feature. From this study, it can be concluded that studying customized packaging solutions for fragile edible cutlery lies in the need to ensure the safe transportation of these products, and research can ensure the product reaches to the customer in best condition possible, thereby increasing customer satisfaction and promoting brand. Also, it is important for the successful expansion of this product to the global market. And the current research solely concentrate on one specific size within its range of products. However, there is a possibility to extend the scope of the study to encompass other shapes and sizes of the products offered. And furthermore, the incorporation of packaging design research would enable improvement of products quality also. So thank you for listening. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Devmini. So now it's the time for the Q&A. So I'm warmly inviting all the speakers up on stage and be seated. So we'll start with our first speaker, Mr. Balasubramaniam Ranjiv. So Mr. Balasubramaniam Ranjiv's research topic was role of user experience design practices in sustainable secondary education in Sri Lanka. If any of the audience member have any questions, you can ask Mr. Ranjiv.
Ranjiv, I have one question. So you are talking about user experience in sustainable education in Sri Lankan context, and you were talking about several factors. Yeah. What do you think about parents' perspective? Because especially when it comes to rural areas in Sri Lanka, parents still believe that exposing their children to technology or mobile or computers is like it will harm their children. So do you think you have to consider that as a factor when you are designing something for the from user experience perspective for children's education, a platform or whatever?
Yeah, actually the perspective of parents influencing children in their education is currently in a shift in the Sri Lankan context. But yes, there are parents in the rural areas who are like still restricting their children from accessing online platforms because due to certain stereotypes. But with current rise in the use of ICT and current use in many concepts which related to information technology, which is being taught in schools. Especially even schools now, they are introducing information technology as a major subject. Parents in the rural settings are also understanding the importance of information technology. So yes, if there are parents who are like restricting their students, we have to take it into consideration while we are designing online platform for sustainable education. But I think it's slowly diminishing in the future, and it might come into a balance in the future setting. I hope it answered your question. Thank you.
Are there any more questions for Mr. Ranjiv? Okay. If not, I also have one question, because I'm really curious and would like to know how are you going to plan, how you're planning to evolve this research or the application, in the application perspective. Have you think about it? Yes.
Yes. So developing this research into an application, I'm already working on a project by incorporating people of stakeholders of different fields, and it's more aligned towards the higher education sector, not the secondary education, because in secondary education already there are platforms in Sri Lanka which facilitating this. So it's aligned more into the stakeholders in the higher education sector, and working with different stakeholders on how they can promote sustainability through these online platforms, getting insights from this research.
Thank you, Ranjiv.
Thank you very much.
Are there any more questions? All right. Let's move into our second speaker, Mr. C.S.G. Korala. His research topic was incorporating design thinking process in redesigning the existing student performance monitoring mobile application. If there's any questions, you can ask Mr. Korala.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. You made the interface for your faculty, right?
Yeah.
So my question is, can you expand it to the whole university or else other universities as well? If so, in that process, how would the process will be? Do you have to like, from design thinking process, right? Do you have to take different steps, different approaches, or you can use the same process and expand it?
Yeah, I think first of all, I just want to go through with kind of literature review about those things, because I didn't found any project kind of like that to a university, and a better one. And I think hope to go through with the design thinking process, and I think when we are doing kind of mobile app at the university, we have the faculty of the University of Sri Javadepur. There are a lot of faculties, and 10 faculties is there. So the students are from many areas, and students are very different. Their IT literacy is very different, and have to think about that. And yes, I think it's better to go through with a kind of good design process, design thinking process, but hope to go with current normal process. And if I'm going through with that process, if I think if I have kind of if there is if we can go with another solution, another way, another method, I think we can we can change the path. I think yeah, that's my thing. Currently I'm going with the current design thing.
So is there any more questions? So I also have another question from Mr. Korala. So Mr. Korala, you mentioned about usability studies, and you conducted studies prior to your designing stage, right? So I'm curious about those studies and how did you conduct those usability studies? What kind of study methods you used before coming into your design phase?
Yes, first I conduct the interviews with the students, open-ended interviews, and that's the main method what I used and what I get the requirements. And also after the end of the project, I conduct kind of usability testing methods and testing things and figure out what are the issues with the mobile app, and that's how I figure out the requirements and issues with the mobile app.
Thank you. If there's any questions, you still have the chance asking Mr. Korale. All right, let's move into our next speaker, Ms. Anuki Pereira. Her research topic is community-based application for Sri Lankan comic enthusiasts towards building a Sri Lankan comic culture.
Hi, Miss Pereira. Very nice talk. Just a question. Comics I feel are read on books or papers, but now with all of this modern technology, people are looking at this on their phone probably. Do you anticipate any major design or any changes required to read a comic book with a good user experience on a mobile phone?
Yeah, so thank you for asking that question, Sohan. So basically, there's this, like I mentioned in my PPT, there's a thing, web comics are in the form known as web comics as of now. And the layout is different when it comes to readability. We used to read comics horizontally when it was on paper, and also comic magazines. But when it comes to the mobile phone, we use it vertically so we can scroll up. So that's one feature that I came up with the web application as I conducted interviews. I hope that answers your question.
I think it does. I mean, if you're looking at the phone in portrait mode, you can really see only one kind of, you can't split that again into more, it has to be one,
yes,
right? So you're anticipating them using it in portrait mode and scrolling.
Yeah, vertical scrolling.
One panel per thing.
Exactly.
Does
so
that, sorry, I mean, from the comic book artist perspective, is the layout something they have in mind when they design the comic?
actually they do, because globally webcomics already have a few platforms, so they will categorize them based on episodes and also maybe chapters, and then scene by scene they will be drawing it, basically portraying it in comic artistry. But the position of the dialogue boxes and the let's take like maybe a close-up look, every panel is a bit different when it comes to the mobile format. So that's where the vertical scrolling has come up on portrait mode, and it's a bit different from the traditional method that we used to look at.
Because that's where I guess before it was what the comic person draws is what you see is what you get. Now it's not the case. They may be creating it and they're not sure what mode the user has set. They don't know, they don't have as much control about the experience as they had before, I suppose. So
Exactly. So now there are a few comics that integrates a bit of music as well. So that's just it keeps on evolving, and that's why in my study I said it's about time that Sri Lanka embraces the webcomic culture and bring up cool comics in the near future.
I guess that makes sense, because you're going from paper medium to digital. You should leverage all the things that digital brings to make the experience better. So animation,
Exactly.
sound, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. And are there any more questions?
Anika, I have a question. So you started the presentation asking a question about when we were kids, we used to read comics. So when we were kids, the comics were kind of free for us because we get it. Like even our parents have to pay for the paper, so likewise. So my question is the platform that you're designing, is it free for so the children can access it without paying, if so, how do you sustain your platform? Because you have to pay people, the creators, and also what's your thinking behind that?
So yes, most of the comics are available free at first because once to get in comic artists and also to get on board fans and also writers, it will be available at first for free. And once the community starts networking with each other, I mentioned that we will be introducing a creators badge. So these creators badge comic artists, they can charge for their chapters or whatever comics that they create. So that's where the sustaining comes in, because they can emit a revenue through that. And as to answer your first question, yes, it's free. The emerging artists comics will be free, and in order to have a creators badge, it'll be encouraging. That will encourage more emerging comic artists to work towards getting the badge. That means being recognized throughout their comic fans within the platform. Thank you.
Okay, if there's any more questions, still can ask Ms. Anuki. If not, we'll move on to our next speaker. Ms. GCN Devmini. Her research topic was customized packaging solution for fragile edible cutlery, a design and development study. If there's anyone in the audience have any questions for Ms. Devmini, you can ask now.
Hi, Chirani. So I have a question to ask you. Were you able to convince the exporter, like as a designer, were you able to convince your design would be the optimal design that they could choose for them to export the edible cutlery? So what was your pitch like for them, and what was their response?
So thank you for the question with me. Actually, this was conducted as a design project, and the exporter, the client, had not contacted us after the design phase, because we took much longer time than expected by client. So that was how it happens, and we couldn't convince on this because we had lost the contact of him.
Okay, are there any more questions for Ms. Devmini? Okay, if not, we can conclude our Q&A session. Thank you very much for four amazing speakers. Thank you for your very passionate research presentations. And there will be another session to deliver certificates for your effort. And yes, I'm inviting our co-chair, Mr. Sathira Ravin.
Thank you all for your wonderful presentation. I would like to call R. Subramaniam for his paper on role of user experience design practice in sustainable secondary education in Sri Lanka. Then I would like to call CSG Korala for his paper on incorporating design thinking process in redesigning the existing student performance monitoring mobile application. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. I would like to call AP Pereira to collect her certificate on the paper community-based application for Sri Lankan comic enthusiasts towards building a Sri Lankan comic culture. Finally, I would like to call MGCN Devmini on her paper customized packaging solutions for fragile edible cutlery. design and development study. Thank you for your paper.
So we are concluding our session 5. Thank you very much for being here.
And with that, we will be moving on to our final session of the day, which will be an industrial session conducted in 2 parts. The first by Dr. Sohan Dharmaraja and the second by Mr. Nihal Atukorala. Dr. Dharmaraja is the Director of Marketing Technology Services at Malanlo, Sri Lanka. Some of his work has been featured by the BBC, NRP, Wired, and Engadget. Previously, he was an algorithmic trader at Goldman Sachs and worked at the US Department of Defense. With that, it is my pleasure to invite Dr. Dharmaraja onto stage to take over.
Can I switch this? Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for having me. I'm happy to be here. I think the title of my talk is going to be The Role Industry Plays in Awakening the Economy Through Design Innovation. So I was thinking about what to say, how to say it, and I thought, what better way to talk about how we can impact the economy than through some of the work we have done at Malanlo. So at least what I'm thinking for today is I'll run through a couple of examples, and if there's something interesting, just we can discuss it afterwards at the Q&A. So as I said, thank you very much for having us. It's always good to have these events, I feel, because you're working in a bubble, and the next project comes along, and you just need time to kind of process it and summarize it. So this is one of those events. Thank you again for inviting me. So for those of you who don't know, I think this talk will make more sense if I just tell you a little bit about Malanlo. We're an integrated advertising and communications company. What I mean by integrated is we have what we call verticals, and each of these verticals specialize in some particular field. In the red, we have the traditional advertising, media, PR. We have a cloud studio. We have activations, digital, and MarTech. Marketing technology is what MarTech stands for, and that's the vertical that I represent. And the work I want to show you today will be from joint digital and marketing technology, because I think that's where I think it's easiest to explain the impact that we've had on industry through the design. Shameless plug, I need to say that we work with a lot of the top brands here in Sri Lanka, and many popular global brands as well. But if I had to explain what we do in simple terms, I'm very proud of the fact that we take something which is seemingly complicated on the surface and distill it down, understand it, and ultimately solve this with something very simple. And I think I have maybe 20 minutes to convince you of this. Hopefully I won't need the whole thing. So like I said, I can sit here and talk till my face turns blue, but I think it's much nicer for y'all if I would just let the work speak for itself. So the first example I want to show you, I'm not sure if you've seen this already, but there was a commercial, Sri Lanka's first ever AI-produced commercial. And we brought back 4 musical legends. Hopefully you have seen this before, but it was a first in the country, and it was a very challenging problem. I'll go into the details, but long story short, every production house in the country said, "No way, this is impossible for you to do." And we also took a step back and thought hard about it. It really is a difficult thing to do, to create these deep fakes, especially when you don't have hours and hours of high quality video of the subjects you're trying to deep fake. And if you, let me go back a slide, sorry. This, what you see on the right is actually, this is really niche research that was actually happening in the US at the time. It's a really neat way of taking a single image and using AI to tell you what that image would look like from slightly different angles. You can't go too crazy, but it was the basis for us to do this commercial, because what we had was those still images you see on the left-hand side. These are scans, these are Polaroids, analog photos that we went to Lake House and took. And through this technology, we were able to create a TV quality commercial. So I like to think this is a good example of using innovation and design to impact the economy. Another example, and I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this at the end, is about the impact we plan to make in the educational space. In fact, maybe I'll skip this for now, and I will come back to this in more detail at the end. What you're looking at now is some of the digital content we have created for Coca-Cola Maldives. And on the surface, it looks like just another Instagram ad. But this was remarkably successful because, okay, I don't want to go into all the boring details, but Coke had been struggling in the Maldives. And they came to us. They had an agency, but they came to Malano, Sri Lanka, because they know we have design skills. And we really understood the local market, and we worked it out that the Maldivian customers just weren't going to buy Coke because you're giving away a PlayStation. What they really wanted to see was their similarities in the content. So on the right, you see, we've modeled characters after typical Maldivian people, and this has had amazing impact on the sale of Coke in the Maldives. Recently, maybe you've heard of this, but the Pico Trail here in Sri Lanka won the best wider world tourism project at the British Guild of Travel Writers. This was, I think, 2 weeks ago. And proud to say that we're the team that marketed and advertised this. One thing, it's very subtle, and it took me also a while to figure it out, but in terms of design, why this is clever is that there is no branding. You don't see any logos. You don't see any corporate kind of effects on this. The branding for this is that there is no branding. Where actually, if you look at the second one, the letters are actually obscured by the mountains. So that's really, I think, what gave this content a very natural feel, lending itself to the trail. To kind of complete the experience, we went on and executed this mobile app to really give it a curated, very unique, specialized experience. It's not easy to build anything to do with mapping, and especially because people's expectations of technology are so high. You say you're doing a messaging app, they compare you to WhatsApp. You say you have navigation, they're going to compare you to Google Maps. So it was a very high bar, and I'm happy to say that I think we exceeded that. We also cover a lot of the events that happen in the fashion space. Creating this authentic content isn't easy, but it needs to be authentic, needs to be in portrait mode for people to find it believable. And I think the last, one more. We also were the company that executed this campaign for the T-board a couple years ago, and this was also very well received. And the last example I have before really kind of going into a detailed, more case study is work we've done for the local brand Edinburgh. They've been around for a long time, but they've recently had a revamp, and I like to think that's because of the work we have done, making this very red, focusing on their USPs, real tomatoes, real tomato sauce. So again, the point I'm trying to make is if you really understand the crux, the essence of what you're trying to communicate, you can often achieve some pretty spectacular results. So I'm going to kind of quickly wind down by talking about I think a project that we're all very excited about at the moment. It's to do with EdTech, and I thought this was the right forum to talk about it. So one of the things that I think, I don't want to say we all know, but I think it's kind of a reality, is that the Grade 5 scholarship exam at the moment is not a very level playing field. If you look at the graph on the right-hand side, you can see, what the graph is trying to show is that people who come from a higher income family tend to do better in the Grade 5 exam. And I don't have the data to show you this, but I'm pretty sure if you look at the right-hand side of the graph, the kids who are doing well at this exam, I'm pretty confident that those kids are similar in some sense. And what I mean by similar is that they may have some common learning style or some common interests, and I think the takeaway from that is that the current system is set up so that one type of learner will thrive. And if by bad luck you are not that type of a learner, you will find it more difficult to thrive in the current system here. And we wanted to try to figure out how we can level the playing field. How can we democratize access to content and education to give everyone the best possible chance of performing well at this exam? So in true design thinking spirit, we sat down, we brainstormed, we thought about the challenges. This is kind of an idea that came out during COVID, but I think it's kind of cool. The risk, in my opinion, of running design thinking workshops is that the most influential person in the room or the most eloquent speaker in the room is the one who kind of sets the direction. I'm proud to say that we've kind of perfected a slightly different format, where it's even before COVID we were doing this, but it's run 100% online. So everyone kind of is anonymized. Your cameras are off. And it's really about the best ideas just coming up to the top. And as a result of following this framework, we identified some obvious things, some not so obvious things. The problems were kind of obvious. There's inequality of opportunity. Inequality of outcome, you can argue that's good or bad, but inequality of opportunity is definitely bad. And like I said, mass market education, unfortunately, it's one size fit all. And that's really crazy if you think about it, because everything in our life is personalized at the moment. I mean, right down to your Netflix recommendations. Why is probably the most important thing not? We identified a few kind of, I would say, levers for us to play with if we were going to attack this problem. One is, of course, it has to be cost efficient, whatever we propose. It needs to be personalized for this to fly. Another really, I think, important thing in building successful products is leveraging network effects. It's not enough to have a great service. You need to make sure that the entire ecosystem benefits by pulling more people into that ecosystem. And we've all seen these crazy things that are happening with OpenAI, generative AI. The timing is right in that sense as well. So, we ran the workshops, we synthesized the findings, and some of the things that came out were pretty, I would say, if you look at just the 1, 2, 3, 4 on the right, some of them are, I guess the interesting one is number 2, where, teaching can itself be a good form of learning. I think everyone probably has a memory of a friend calling them before an exam asking for help. And I mean, I'm not sure if we remember the before and after that call, but it came out from the workshop that the act of just helping someone might have actually helped you learn the subject a little better. So what we did was we kind of realized that there are different styles of learners. Came up with a very simple model. We said, hey, you may be a more physical learner, you may be a more visual learner, but basically we optimized the learning journey based on your learning style. And this was enough for us to go ahead and put down a couple of ideas for prototypes. We talked about some kind of a quiz app, personalized quizzing of people, coaching. Using Google to snap pictures and tell me something interesting about it. The teaching app, can you simulate coaching a friend through WhatsApp and at the same time learn something for yourself? Community learning, kind of like Quora for our local ecosystem. Conversational learning, can you talk to a device? Can we immerse you? Can we do something cool on your phone to make you feel like you're immersed in something and therefore learn better? And personalized learning is more of a abstract thing. So to wind down, I just want to kind of show you the way we built this prototype and the learnings we had. So before we started this, we thought this was going to be very easy. And easy in the sense it was just a matter of, remember, the goal is to build an app to help kids prepare for the grade 5 exam. So, what we thought we'd do is we just take all the past papers we can find, train an AI model to generate similar questions. And once we have those, generated questions and images, we can just, do the generative AI and generate hundreds and thousands of questions for people. I'm sorry, the font is very small, but what happened was very, very different. I don't know if you all have used tools like Midjourney before this, but it's great at generating, fantasy kind of things. But when you ask it to do something very precise, generate 6 rows of 7 dots, it can't do that kind of thing reliably, which is very surprising. So we hit a lot of snags in trying to automate this question generation process. And we had to resort to, crazy things. We're hiring, outsourced freelancers who are generating questions and images, while we're sleeping, so we have kind of an efficient throughput. We also needed to make sure, of course, that the questions we generate are representative of the grade 5 exam. So this is just a simple analysis. But pretty proud about the result. It was pretty straightforward to I don't know if you all are using Figma tools like this, but it's easy to, once you have a design, to export it and quickly generate the code from it. So what you're looking at is just a very simple onboarding process. You sign up, you use the app, and you answer a couple of questions. No right or wrong answers. This is just really to understand your learning style. And once we understand your learning style, we can start to quiz you, and when you get stuck, we can coach you in your personalized style of learning. So let me just think. Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry. The font is small, but I hope you believe me that there are different ways to explain how to do something to a kid based on whether he's more hands-on or whether he's more analytical or abstract thinking. So that's all I wanted to say. I hope this was a little bit useful to you all. And I'm happy to take questions either here or offline. Just give me a shout. Thank you very much. Bye. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Dharmaraja, for that very insightful and edifying session. Our final speaker for this session is none other than Mr. Nihal Athukorala. Mr. Athukorala has had the opportunity to lead Panther, an esteemed organization that has made remarkable contributions to the production of stationery, educational toys, and games in Sri Lanka. Having witnessed the progression and success of the company firsthand, Mr. Nihal Athukorala has played a pivotal role in its growth and development. And with that, I'd like to invite Mr. Athukorala onto stage and take over.
No, I don't know. I got the paper. Good afternoon. At the outset, let me thank the Design Code team for giving me this opportunity to share my experience in the last few decades in the printing, paper converting trade, and also to touch on the growth of designers in the next few years. I represent the company Javana Graphics Private Limited. We are at Ratmalan Industrial Estate and manufacture Panther brand, educational toys, board games, and stationery products. Our stationery range includes storage solutions, design and accounting stationery, and notebooks, etc. In addition to that, we develop board games such as traditional Sri Lankan games, Olinda Kelia, Pancha Kelia, Nerenchi, and games for specific institutions to educate public and children on topics such as importance of public balanced diets, global warming, preventing road accidents, etc. Especially through a fun way. We are ISO 9001-2015 certified company, carry EN 71 certification for all our educational products. We started in a very small way, and now we are a fairly established company and having over 80 employees. I started my career as a trainee at State Printing Corporation soon after obtaining my physical science degree from then University of Ceylon, Colombo. Those days, it was not a difficult task for a science graduate to obtain a suitable job. Most of the state organizations have just started and they were looking for qualified personnel. Within 3 years of joining, I was selected for a British Council scholarship to do a diploma in printing management at London College of Printing. I am proud to announce that finally I end up as a general manager and then as the chairman of State Printing Corporation. Hence I have no regret for selecting printing as a career. Though state printing was initially started for printing of school textbooks, later they diversified into manufacture of school stationery through an outright grant obtained from Japanese government. They provided both machinery, buildings, and relevant training for all our staff. I think that was the turning point in the school stationery industry in Sri Lanka. Till 1980s, Sri Lankan consumers did not have any choice on school stationery, but to accept whatever the state organizations produce. Except for a few small-timers, no private sector company got involved in manufacture of stationery. Hence, there was no competition. It was the two state organizations monopolizing the school stationery business. With the exposure of state printing to new Japanese technology, we were the first to manufacture exercise books with colored cover designs. All these designs were manually drawn and then colors were separated using graphic cameras. The development in the last few decades in the graphic industry is remarkable. I think with the competition in the printing industry, designers' role became very critical. Even for us in the local market, designs plays a major role in the consumer buying behavior. It is an important element for increasing sales, tool for marketing communications, and attract customers. For the last few years, we were struggling to get into the European market with our educational products. Our main drawback were the designs and color selections. On several occasions, we have informed the Sri Lanka Export Development Board about the deficiency. Except for major exporters, all SMEs face this problem. This year, through a PUM, is a Dutch voluntary organization, we got down an expert to train our designers as we were preparing for 2 foreign exhibitions. Paper World in Dubai, actually it's just concluded, and Ambient Affair in Germany. These experts are volunteers. She was assisting us in developing our products, designing our own catalogs for 2024, even putting up, designing the posters to be put up at the incoming exhibition with appropriate wording, etc. In fact, she is coming all the way from Netherlands to visit us at our stall at Ambiente. You can just imagine how complex the role of a designer nowadays. Strangely, correspondence to select this expert was originated by EDB. I don't know whether EDB has ever approached you all over this issue. Like us, even the newspaper industry is undergoing the same changes. Papers which were printed in black and white started introducing colors to make it more attractive. Newspapers which were restricted to politics, sports, started into lifestyle issues. But with the current trends in electronic and digital technology and social media, future of newspapers on physical form are very uncertain. Various surveys have revealed that the newspaper circulation dwindled downwards over the years, and readership is increased either through internet or electronic editions. Those days, people used to purchase newspapers to update with current affairs, look for vacancies abreast with editorial material. Most of these are now taken over by social media. Similar fate is slowly falling on books and magazine industry. E-books are slowly popularizing. Electronic and digital technology will take over their role. But I think limited editions of exclusive books will continue to publish. You won't get the same feeling of reading a physical book by reading it on a screen. These trends will force the designers to come up with novel ideas to distract readers from the internet. When it comes to packaging, still conventional packing materials are being used. But there are new eco-friendly raw materials which have been added to this list. In a such complex environment, designers need to play a very critical role. Earlier, designers' role was restricted only for designing. But now, before designing a product, designers need to do a lot of research and work with marketing, production teams very closely. Fortunately, lot of such information needed can also be obtained from the internet. The future of designers is not just about delivering a great product, but also solving complex issues. Designers have the opportunity to take a seat at the board table, influence business leaders, and make far-reaching impact on society. Thanks to Mrs. Sumantri, we had the privilege of working with some of your interns in the past few years. I was amazed by the wealth of knowledge you all have gathered. With right exposure to the industry and society, we'll be able to make them top-class designers in the country. I wish to share some of my thoughts what the future designer should have. Take for example, if a package is to be designed, it is necessary to find out more about the lifestyle of the potential buyer who is going to be the end user, especially when designing of export tea cartons. And in whatever environment product to be used, is to be used in a cafe, at a dining table, or at a social gathering. Number two, environmental impact. Certain materials are restricted in some markets. Also, certain consumers prefer environment-friendly products since they are very concerned with issues related to global warming. We now see more and more products in the eco-friendly packaging. Political, social, and cultural issues related to the market in which product to be sold. In some countries, certain images are not allowed due to various political and religious reasons. Economical and purchasing power of the buyer. Knowledge about the materials to be used, their prices, sizes are very relevant in such cases. Presentation, gift-giving market. Some same product can be designed for different market segments by changing the packaging. Some of our educational products are sold with bulk rigid boxes targeting as birthday gifts, and more economical packing if it to be sold as a back-to-school product. Material as well as the products need to be certified by various authorities. This is a problem what we are facing currently, because most of the foreign buyers insist on various type of certification, especially FSC, certificate issued by the Forest Stewardship Council. It is a non-governmental organization dedicated to promoting responsible management of world's forest. This is applicable to paper and paperboard, but also some foreign buyers insist that even the company that produce such products carry FSC certification. It is a very expensive affair to get such certification, especially in Sri Lanka, because we don't have competent staff. I mean, there are, but they demand very high fees. All educational products should carry EN 71 certification or certification required by the country. EN 71, which covers physical, that is to ensure there are no sharp edges, etc., and mechanical properties, flammability test on material used, and non-availability of toxic material. These tests are done after completing the product. Hence, it is important designers should have a knowledge on these tests. Otherwise, it will be a very costly affair if you have to redo the samples. This is in a nutshell, I see designers' role in the future. Some may say this is beyond the scope of a designer, as some areas fall onto industrial engineering. But my opinion is that designers should have thorough knowledge of what they are expected to do. Coming back, my life was never a bed of roses. Went through a very difficult period. I can remember working at a stretch for sometimes 3 complete days at a stretch to complete tasks designed to me. I used to accept work whatever assigned to me, whether it was accounts, production, installation, you name it, I was there to prepare to accept it. A thing nowadays generation is reluctant to accept. They always try to work within the assigned work. For you to go up in life, you need to have all these exposures. Before I wind up, I wish to touch on my stay at the university. It was a very enjoyable and memorable stay in my life. We had our share of strikes. When the government tried to change the name of University of Ceylon, Colombo to University of Colombo, we stuck for more than 5 months. We were baton charged at the climax, but finally we managed to get what we demanded. No politicians were involved in our issues. It was sheer efforts by the three councils, the Physical Science, the Science Council, the Arts Council, and the medical science, medical faculty. That's it. And then we were back on studies. We had our share of socials, get-togethers, picnics, dances, cricket matches, etc. Within the stipulated period, we left the university with our due certificate. My only appeal to you is enjoy your stay and try your best to leave within the stipulated period with flying colors. Wish you all the success. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adukorala, for that impactful presentation. I'm certain this session has really edified those of you in attendance. And with that, this brings our final session of the IDR Conference 2023 to a close. In conclusion, today's Design Research Forum explored design innovation in pedagogy, design thinking, circularity, sustainability, and technologies, along with enlightening industry insights. These discussions have paved the way for a future where design addresses complex challenges. We hope that these conversations spark transformative actions and contribute to global design excellence. Thank you to all the chairs and co-chairs, speakers, all those in attendance today, and for all those whose tireless efforts have made today a success. Let's carry this momentum forward for continued dialogue and impactful initiatives in the days to come. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. Ladies and gentlemen, the inauguration ceremony will begin at 5:30, so please ensure you are seated by that time so we can commence the session. Thank you.